Thank you, Senator Kelly. Senator Whitehouse and I are each going to do one other round, and then I think we'll ring it down. We are on a vote, and I appreciate your time and attention. And I apologize for not being in the room although I heard it was quite lively, that I was not in the room for the whole proceedings. So I don't know if PFAS was a major focus for somebody, because as you know, you and I have talked about this. This is a major focus for me. And you, as a former member of the House, were very active in this arena with PFAS because of incidences in your home district that you had talked about. So you put out a PFAS plan, which I really commend you with, a strategy early. At least we can see where we're going. And I would like to ask, the question is a little bit nuanced for me. I want to know, where do you think in the plan that you have put forward we're actually going to see action so that that would be different than what we would have seen over the last 4 years? I mean, you know, we kept pushing for minimum drinking levels and things of that nature. Now we have things like passive receivers and water systems, and once you catch it, how do you destroy it? There's so much we could be really in your tenure. We can solve this problem. So how do you see us proceeding from there? And I hope you intend to be as aggressive as possible.
Yes, Chairman, with regards to the April 28th announcement, this was the first release that we sent out. We've sent out others since. I would point you to, and there are a lot of different aspects of this announcement. One part says develop effluent limitation guidelines for PFAS manufacturers and metal finishers and evaluate other ELGs necessary for reduction of PFAS discharges. That's significant. And I would encourage the public to read the April 28th release that went out. The release that went out last week tackles, I understand this reality as administrator of the EPA, that every single decision I make, whether I say yes or no, someone's going to sue me. It's just the reality with regards to every decision that's in front of us. Well, we also inherited some active litigation, and some of that litigation was in the PFAS space that's currently going through the courts. There are the announcement that we made last week involving 6 chemicals. We are retaining the 4 parts per trillion MCL on PFOA and PFOS. These are the 2 chemicals of PFAS where the research and data has been the furthest along. There is a lot of research with regards to the other 4 chemicals at play. The procedural error that created a litigation issue was that with those 4 other chemicals, they combined the preliminary regulatory determination with the proposed rule, which means that the EPA skipped a traditional step in the rulemaking process by issuing the proposed drinking water standard at the same time it proposed the formal decision to regulate PFAS rather than doing the steps separately. The Safe Drinking Water Act does allow for certain steps to be combined, but what they did is not allowed under the Act. And I would point out that as we go through that process with those 4, at the end of the process, you might end up with a lower MCL. So, you know, for those who want to take last week's announcement as if that means that you're going to end up with a weaker MCL, that's just not accurate. And as I pointed out earlier, there was one line of Q&A with one of your colleagues. There has been a lot of outreach to EPA over these last few months of individuals and companies that are really leaning into investment in trying to come up with innovation for PFAS treatment. So what we're hoping for is that the cost to be able to come into compliance with these MCLs are going to go down as we go through the months and the years that are ahead. The innovations are clearly out there. The passive receiver concern, I heard from members of this committee when I was going through the confirmation process. It is against the principle of polluter pays to make a consumer pay to clean up the contamination of their water supply. And that is something that we agree with and we want to address.
Thank you. I would encourage this. And one of the other things that I think is very confusing to the general public. I mean, we had a chemical spill in my home system. It wasn't PFAS, but and there were conflicting advice as to whether you can drink the water, bathe in the water, cook with the water. initially, you know, it was said, oh, it's safe. Well, it had an odor with it, so you really didn't want to drink it. But then the next day, there's a letter issued by the CDC after they said it was safe. They issued another letter and says, but if you're pregnant or expecting or elderly or have a health issue, maybe you shouldn't drink it. There's nothing worse that an agency or an administration can do than to give conflicting health advice. I think we learned that during COVID because it was all over the place. But for something as fundamental as drinking water that our children and my grandchildren are drinking, I mean, what a terrible legacy for us to leave. And so we need to be really strong here. And I'm going to support you every step of the way. But, you know, so conflicting levels, you know, there was a safety level and then there's a drinking level. What does that tell the American? How do you interpret that if you're a mom deciding what to do? It's impossible. So I thank you for your attention to this. I really want to work with you on this, and I appreciate the speed with you came out with this. Whether anybody agrees with the advice or some of the advice or all of the advice that was given in this, at least you're prioritizing this early on, because you have to get through the process that takes years, and we're going to work hard to make sure that happens. Thank you.
Thank you.